about the same thing in her book. And it's all, but I think she actually says there's another
Mr. Jack, thank you for coming and sharing with us. I really appreciate it. I wish you the best and have a great rest of your evening.
You too.
All right, take care.
You too.
All right. Big applause for Mr. Jack. Samsung SM S13DL. We'll see who this is. We'll take a chance. Yeah, I need to catch up with that. Hello? Are you there? I can't hear you. I hope everything's working properly. Is your mic muted? Okay, now I can't hear. Can anybody else hear her? Can you hear me? You can hear me. I can't hear her. Is there some way that your microphone is muted on your computer?
I just waiting for we finish the Jeff Mora podcast, and after I play
I
directly.
had you there for a second. While she's trying to get it done, I need to backtrack here and say a big thank you to Leslie Kings for that super thanks. And Sansi Arai, thank you very much. Much love, Jeff Mara. And Mike Barella, thank you very much for that super thanks. I think I'm caught up there. All right. Nope, now it shows that you're okay, she's reconnecting. I can't hear you, unfortunately. I know I haven't changed anything, so it should work. So something is not right. And I haven't pushed any buttons that I know of to mess it up. So I'll just, everybody, see what we can do, see if her voice will come in. Yeah. Growth is in the dirt saying can't hear her, so for some reason you're not coming through. I don't know. Is it possible? My guess is it's possible that your mic is muted somehow, somewhere within your system, and you don't realize it. You unmuted yourself in Zoom. Is it somehow, like, do you have a mute button on your microphone somewhere where you can physically touch your mute button? Like my headphones probably have a mute button somewhere.
Waiting for Jeff Mora podcast be finished first, and after.
Show her the sign. I was looking for the sign. Unfortunately, it's just, let's see. And this is another sign from Penny. I don't know if Penny's here tonight. I don't think I've seen her. But Penny Sutton made these for me, and she can make other things for you. I see you on the phone. Okay, if you want to call me with a separate phone, yeah, call me through Zoom. So then we'll just use one phone for Zoom and one phone for video. And we'll put some music on. Maybe she's coming back. Sounds like she's going to call back and call in from that. So hopefully we'll be able to get this working. And I'll give you some club music while we're waiting for her. All right, so I went over while we're waiting, I went over I know what I wanted to tell everybody. He was here, but he isn't there anyways, but PD Pete's here, and PD Pete spearheaded this project for me, and what he's trying to do is go through every NDE video and take notes, basically like people who saw angels, people who saw Jesus, and people who went to the Black Void, and so many different topics. And we're doing that so eventually I can create videos where I can have like one person after another, after another, after another. Like left my body and I saw an angel, and the angel was 7 foot tall. And then it flips to another guest. Left my body and I saw an angel. So it'd be really fascinating to see many people seeing the same thing over and over again. Like make one video about all these people saying they saw angels, or all these people saying they saw Jesus. He's heading that project. It's a volunteer project, and him and some other people have done some amazing work working on this. My wife and I barely have time to just even get these out on time every day, so we're doing what we can. And I told him I thought it was a great idea. I thought about it, I just don't have the time to do it. So he started working on it for me and him, and I think I know there's some other people, maybe Minnie Rapunzel's in on that, and Awaken Ken, I think he's been helping out. And if somebody else's name, please forgive me for not remembering. But if you want to help on that, you go to Discord, and in Discord, if you join the Discord, there's like several rooms. You join my server, and what it is you go to discord.com, you sign up for free, and then once you get your free profile or account, if you go to the link in the description of this video, that'll get you into my server. And my server is basically like my chat rooms. And there's a chat room there. I don't even remember what it's called. Let's see if I can pull it up here. My Discord is up. Let's see. Look at Discord is up. Don't switch. Don't do that. Go to my server. And maybe this is her, Tammy Cheney, I'm going to admit. And it's called JMP Timestamp Master something, Master List. And that's what it is. So if you want to help out, we'd appreciate it. And there it is. Tammy, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes. All right,
Okay,
it's working this time. I'm glad it was not me, because earlier in the podcast I couldn't hear the guest and the first two guests, and then I realized it was on my end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's so dark in here. I have a light on. I have 2 lights on me, actually.
Oh, well, that's okay. I think we can see you clear enough, and we can hear you, so I think we're good. Where are you zooming from?
Denver, Colorado.
Denver. I just had a guest from Denver, I'm pretty sure. I had a guest from Denver. I can't remember where, but I'm pretty sure about that. All right, so what do you have to share with us this evening?
So, I talked to you just recently on Messenger, and I have so much to tell, but I'm going to try to combine as much as I can in 15 minutes, because I know that's all the time that I have.
Okay.
Talk to you a little bit about paranormal activity, and also out-of-body experiences.
All right.
So,
Which did you have? Which came first, the OBE or the paranormal?
the OBE.
So maybe that was the one. That's the catalyst that started everything.
Well, to be honest with you, I think that I was probably born this way. Like, I think I told you before in Messenger that my mom said that I had died while she was pregnant for me, and I just have to assume that it must have been while she was giving birth.
Yeah, I remember that now.
The heartbeat or whatever, but she had all kinds of problems while she was pregnant for me, and but anyways, so at the age of 3, and I remember all the way to the age of 3 very vividly, and maybe something was happening before the age of 3, but this is as early as I can remember. I began communicating with, now I call it God, but at that time, I didn't know what to call it at 3 years old, but it was the light.
We start after the Jeff Mora podcast. I promise for waiting when we finish. It's a wonderful podcast about life and after life.
Sorry to interrupt you, but did your family think that you had an imaginary friend or something?
Well, I didn't really know to communicate it with my family. I think at that time I just assumed it was normal.
Okay.
You know, and I was 3 years old, so it was not even a thought in my mind to talk to my family about it at that age. But
Can
but
I,
at the age
let me stop you 1 second. Do you have the YouTube video on somewhere?
Normally is
I feel-
two,
finishing
Read
around
that for me, because I feel
10
like I can
o'clock.
hear that in the background.
Hong Kong time,
yep, I
but
got
sometimes a
Okay,
little bit
thank you.
longer. So now a little bit longer.
So at 5 years old, I began having out of body experiences. Now, of course, at 5 years old, I had no idea what was happening to me. All I knew was my body was lifting up out of my body as a little 5 year old, and it was scaring the living daylights out of me. Like I actually felt like the jolt of me coming out of my body.
Was
And
this
I-
happening at night, like when you were going to sleep, or at any time of the day?
No, it was at night, and I always knew hours before it was going to happen because I would have this buzzing feeling in my body
Mhm.
that I couldn't explain the buzzing feeling, but I just knew, and I would already start to like panic a little bit inside, knowing that it was going to happen once I went to bed that night, and of course it happened, and I would generally just I would just explore outside, which was the same outside that was the outside, but I knew that I was in a different atmosphere because the feeling of being where I was at, even though it was my same environment outside, the feeling of what it felt like being outside was like this overwhelming peace. Like I can't even explain it. I was so happy once I got out of my body. I just could not. The feeling of leaving, because it was a jolt feeling, scared me, and then the feeling of coming back. And I never turned around when I left my body to see my body, but every time I was coming back, I saw my body. I saw I was going back into my body.
Do you
And-
feel that something or some being pulled you out of your body, or it just happened spontaneous? Well, it doesn't seem spontaneous because you knew it was coming, but there was nothing, causing it to happen.
Yeah, there was no being. It would just happen, and I always knew that it was going to happen beforehand, and I would already be like panicking inside.
Mm.
So I grew up in a household where, when it's bedtime, you go to bed, and, you can't go and say, oh, I'm scared, and I didn't know how to explain what was happening to me at 5 years old. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I just, in my mind, I'm thinking they're going to think that it's just an excuse. I don't want to go to bed kind of a deal. So we moved that started in one location that we lived at, and then we moved to a new location, which was a location that I actually grew up at. And the out of body experiences continue to happen there. I would, after it continued to happen, I wasn't scared anymore. It wasn't a scary thing to me. When you get used to stuff like that. So I continued to have the experiences, and I loved it, and it was wonderful, but still didn't know that it was called an out of body experience, and still didn't know that it wasn't something that happened to everybody. I just assumed it happened to everybody. Because I'm just a kid. I'm like, we moved there when I was 6 years old. From 6, 7, and 8 years old, this activity's still happening. Well, at the new place that we moved to, that's the house that I actually grew up in until I was 15 years old, there was an entity that started to visit me between the ages. So not only was I having out of body experiences, but between the ages of 6 and 8, and it literally went on that long. There was a being that came into our house, and he wore really heavy boots. So it was like I knew he was coming because I could hear his boots. You know what I mean? And I knew that he was getting closer.
Mm.
And so this being was visiting me all the time, and I was scared to death, like literally scared to death. And he would just come down the hallway. Sometimes he'd go in the kitchen and move stuff around, but then he'd always venture all the way to my bedroom. And every time he got there, every day when because I knew it was going to happen. Like I knew that it was going to happen because I'd have this buzzing feeling, the same buzzing feeling that I had at 5 years old, 6 years old with the out of body experiences.
Mhm.
Buzzing feeling stopped after having multiple And every night I'd say, okay, if he comes tonight, this time I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look and see what he looks like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And not only was I aware of this being, but we had a cat that we called Mama Cat, and she was not kid friendly at all. She was literally my mom's cat, and she hated us kids. So it was like, it's not normal for her to come in my room, but there were more than one occasion that she was present, because usually she'd be prowling outside at night. But a couple of the times she was inside when the being came, and she literally came into my room and jumped up on my bed and was hiding under the covers with me. Like, she was aware of the being, and that was normal. Like, the cat never slept in my bed. So that's what confirmed it to me, because I did start telling my parents, you know, there's this guy that keeps coming to my room at night. And they're like, oh, you were just dreaming, or oh, you were just this. They always blew it off and never, you know, it was never something that they paid attention to. And or I would get made fun of by my brothers, you know what I mean? So I learned quickly just not to say anything anymore, because they're not going to believe me anyways. Like, there was one point in time when the thing came that, you know, my family was trying to convince me that I was sleeping. So I put a piece of paper and a pen next to the nightstand that was next to my bed. And when the being left, I don't know where he would go, but he would just come to my room and he would like stand there and observe me or something. I don't know what he was doing. But then he would just leave and he'd be gone. So as soon as he left, I got up and I wrote something on a piece of paper so that when I wake up the next morning, I'll know that I was awake. And sure enough, I was freaking awake. And so I don't know how many minutes do we have left right now?
I don't
So
know, about 5 minutes.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you about so later on, you know, as life went by, you know, I continued to speak to the light. Like, I'm talking on a daily basis, every day. I was always able to go into that realm, like, naturally. Like, what I know that there's multiple realms, because as my life went, you know, as my life proceeded, I could move to different realms at will. Like, and it all seemed normal to me, and I didn't realize that it wasn't normal until I hit middle school, and I realized the other people that I'm associating with don't experience these things. It literally took me that long to realize that this isn't normal. You know what I mean? And but in elementary school, I was always getting in trouble because I was talking all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't talking to anybody around me. I was talking to the light.
Yeah.
And I did learn real quickly to, you know, because the communication from the light was telepathically. But, you know, when you're a little kid, you'll start talking out loud, you know, not realizing that you're talking out loud. So I was constantly getting into trouble because I was talking all the time. And I wasn't talking to anybody in the room. I was just talking to the Father, you know,
Yeah.
light, you know. So it was like, it was normal to me. So like I said, once I hit middle school, it became something that I realized was not normal. Everybody wasn't doing this. And it was kind of shocking to me when I came to that realization. So later on in life, I'm 24 years old, and I was pregnant for my second oldest daughter, and I was living at this place where it was like a group home, because I had went through like a domestic abuse case, and because I was pregnant, they put me in this security home where, you know, I couldn't be found or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went into my room one day,
very soon
and I
we
just
start.
laid down and I just started talking to the Father. And as I was speaking to the Father, I left my body, and I was literally in the only English words that I could put it, because, you know, most people will understand this, is I was in heaven. I was in a place. I had
It's very interesting.
that were walking with
Whenever
me,
you visit to Jeff Mara podcast, it's really about life and
so
afterlife.
Overwhelmingly beautiful, loving, peaceful, like every feeling that you could ever think of that is a positive feeling, but it was 100 times more than that. like the flowers. The flowers were colors that you will never see here on Earth. Like they were almost translucent. And as you walked, the flowers always pointed at you, so you always saw the face and the beauty of the flower. Another thing about it is the light. I knew the light was God. I knew it was God, and the light was in everything. Like everything had the light. There was literally no darkness there at all. I even squatted down on the ground, or I was speaking to the beings. I don't know who they were at that time when it happened to me. I was like, I don't know if it was like Abraham or Moses or whatever, because I didn't know how to put a name to them. But I said to them, I looked back and I was like, wow, we don't even have a shadow. And they're like, yeah, there's no darkness in here. And so I squatted down on the ground and I tried to cuff my hand and I peeked through my hand just to see if there was a shadow just from my hands laying down on the ground. And when I looked through, it was brilliant light. There was literally no darkness there. And there was a facility, I can't remember exactly what the facility, because I never made it to a facility. All I know is I was just absorbing the whole atmosphere that I was in, absorbing the smells, the sounds. Like it was, I don't know if music was playing, but I heard music. You know what I mean? Like it was almost like, it wasn't like there was some radio or something somewhere. There was nothing there other than, you know, the beauty of the flowers, the trees, the grass, the road that we were walking on. So I don't know where the music would have been coming from, but the sounds were beautiful, the smells were beautiful, the radiant light was beautiful. Like, and when I came out of that, I came back, I literally felt like my entire body was glowing. And I'm in this home with a whole bunch of other girls, you know, that had just went through the same thing that I had went through. And I'm walking through the house and I'm thinking they're seeing what I'm seeing, you know? I'm seeing like this, like I was in a glowing bubble, literally. And everything that I felt there just was all over me. Like I couldn't get rid of it. And I literally tried to speak to the girls and I couldn't speak. I could not speak to these girls and tell them what just happened to me. It was like I was silent for like 3 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know that we're running out of time.
We're running out of time, and I think this would be a great place to pick. I hope you can come back next week, because I think this would be a great place to start from, is because I have a question that I want to ask, and I don't want to get too deep into it. So I want to talk to you about heaven and then what happened afterwards. Do you think you can come back next week?
I'll be back next week.
All right, great. Well, Tammy, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you next week.
You have a great night.
Oh, you too. Give you a round of applause. And all right, guys, so we went overtime tonight, but thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate you. I'm hoping that you're gonna, we have an NDE ready for you tomorrow night at our usual time. Around 7:30 my time is when I post. So I hope again you guys will check that out. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate you. We love you. God bless you.
Bye.